going on, guys? Austin here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at 5-Minute Fantasies Week 13, Booming and Busting Tight Ends. My start of the week, this week, I'm going to say is Greg Olsen. I think that this Washington Redskins team is going to have a lot of... I think Carolina's going to blow them out, and I think there's just going to be a lot of points on the board early. I think that Greg Olsen could potentially be a tight end and 80 yards in that first couple drives of the game. I'm also going to say you're going to want to start Jared Cook. I think this is going to be a slow, grinded out game. Part of the reason why I would also stay away from Ted Ginn, the speed receiver from New Orleans. I think they're going to keep things in short, so Latavius Murray and Jared Cook and Michael Thomas are going to be the stars of this game. You can also start Mark Andrews, going up against the San Francisco 49ers defense. I know that, on the fantasy apps, it'll tell you, be careful about starting Mark Andrews because, San Francisco gives up the least amount of points to opposing tight ends. However, the best tight end in the NFL that they have played this season, I believe, is Vance McDonald, maybe, depending on how you feel about Jimmy Graham on the Packers. It's been a lot of Cincinnati's and Arizona, and they didn't even have to play Will Dissly on Seattle. Just a lot of teams that don't really have tight ends or don't really use tight ends. And then you can also start Gerald Everett. I think that the combination of Cooper Kupp being bottled up by Patrick Peterson with Arizona still, giving up a lot of points to opposing tight ends. I think that Gerald Everett is still poised to have a good game this week. Looking on to the busts, I'm going to say be careful about Evan Ingram. I know he started out like he was balling this year. He had a slight injury that sidelined him for a few weeks. I think it was maybe 2 or 3. This is going to be the first week back. He's probable. More than likely he's going to play. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be fully up to speed and all up in the game plan. Not a lot of people can do what George Kittle can do. George, he did the same thing last year where he started off slow. People really weren't sure, and then all of a sudden, boom, he came out of nowhere. He's doing that this year. 2 weeks removed from a broken ankle or something like that. He's already balling, putting up 120 yards and a touchdown on the Packers. Evan Ingram, I don't think is capable of putting out that same production. So even up against Green Bay, who is kind of cushy against tight ends, I'd be careful about him. Also, be careful about Jack Doyle. Tennessee, I think they're the eighth best at covering tight ends in the league, maybe 9th. Also, Eric Ebron's out, so he's definitely going to be getting more of the defensive attention in those 2 tight end sets. So be careful about him. If you can find any other options, try not to start him this week. Kyle Rudolph. I know that Kyle Rudolph has been balling the last, I think it's 3 weeks. And Seattle's supposed to have a good matchup, but these last few weeks, Seattle has been playing really well defensively. They really did a number on Zach Ertz, even though Zach Ertz got a ton of targets. The efficiency was really, really bad, and that Kirk Cousins isn't really going to force the ball to Kyle Rudolph because especially with Adam Thielen coming back, he's going to be the third throwing target down the field. Even probably third target, in terms of total passes, because a lot of the screens are probably going to go to Dalvin Cook too. So be careful about him. And then be careful about Darren Waller. I would sit him. He started out red hot to this season, and it really slowed down after about maybe week 8 or 9. In Kansas City, although they haven't had a great defense over the season, they've picked it up as of late. The Tennessee game notwithstanding. So I would avoid starting Darren Waller against the Kansas City Chiefs this week.